I also have a feeling I'm going to be rearranging my house soon. I rearranged my bedroom.
Oh, what are you going to do?
I don't know. It's just, you get that
Oh
feeling?
yeah,
every
no,
once in
no.
a while?
I change furniture as a seasonal thing. It makes me feel good. Yeah.
Alright. Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Editing Academy. The little red light is blinking, yes?
Yes.
Okay. My name's Daryl.
I'm Laura.
Laura, what's the year and what are the movies we're here to talk about today?
These are the 2006 Best Picture nominees for movies released in 2005, and they include Brokeback Mountain, Capote, Crash, Good Night and Good Luck, and Munich.
Right. Interesting crowd this time around.
Very interesting, and some of them I was very much not looking forward to revisiting.
Yes, I understand that
Yeah.
entirely. I have seen all of them before.
Same.
And I was curious as to why a couple were nominated, and then I did the research for the other films for that year,
Oh,
and
okay.
it made perfect sense to me.
All right.
There is a little bit of crossover from last time, but other notables that year: Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, The Revenge of the Sith, Chronicles of Narnia, War of the Worlds, King Kong, Jarhead, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Walk the Line, The Constant Gardener, Sahara, The Corpse Bride, Serenity, Breakfast on Pluto. You ever seen that?
No, I have not.
Independent film, basically a transgender man in, I think it's set in Ireland, although it could be England. Last year's Oscar winner for Best Male Supporting Actor. He does phenomenal, and it's such a good little movie.
Okay.
Broken Flowers, V for Vendetta, Fantastic Four, Elektra.
All right. So Harry Potter and Star Wars.
Yeah. Harry Potter was 1, Star Wars 2.
I'm looking at this crowd, and I'm going to say nothing in this crowd.
That is correct.
So I will then go to War of the Worlds.
Yep, that was 4.
And Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
No. 3 was Chronicles of Narnia, 5 was King Kong.
I missed Chronicles of Narnia last time as well, so I should have taken it this time. I never would have guessed King Kong. That was the Naomi Watts, Jack Black version, I believe, right?
I think so.
Uh-huh.
This was the Peter Jackson version.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Again, I go alphabetical, so Brokeback Mountain.
Okay.
Brokeback Mountain, directed by Ang Lee, produced by Diana Osana and James Seamus, adopted from the 1997 short story by Annie Proulx. Screenplay was written by Osana and Larry McMurtry, and it stars Heath Ledger, Jake Gyllenhaal, Anne Hathaway, Michelle Williams, a couple other supporting cast, but basically those are the big ones. Nominated for Picture, Director, Actor, Supporting Actor for Jake, Actor for Heath, Supporting Actress for Michelle, Screenplay, Cinematography, Original Score. It won for Screenplay and Score. And we will acknowledge right up front, this was a big controversial year.
Yes.
A lot of people thought this one should have won, but we'll get to that later.
I think this is second only to the Shakespeare in Love year,
Yeah.
as far as controversies go, at least in modern Academy times. So, the summary is, 2 shepherds fall for each other, but their relationship becomes complicated when they both get married to their respective girlfriends. I think that's a terrible summary.
I do as well, and also, even though it's completely 100% accurate, the term shepherd throws me off.
Exactly, yeah.
It is accurate.
They're cowboys, but they're shepherds, yes. They're not cows, there are no cows. So. But yes, interesting. I will say up front, none of these 5 were on the AFI list.
Okay. That makes
So,
sense.
a couple of fun facts. I have a couple of different places I could go, and there's a lot of fun facts about this movie, as you know, as you're not surprised because of the controversy it had. But I will say, Ang Lee almost did not take on this movie. That he was going to retire from film after his last movie, which was The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Which was
did not-
terrible, didn't
Yeah.
do well, he had a terrible experience on it, and he was done. And this movie that had been offered to him before that just kept playing in his head of, I really want to make this. So he decided to make this, which I think was fantastic.
Absolutely.
It was filmed in Calgary, so the issue was U.S. sheep were not allowed in Canada because they were worried about disease and,
Sure.
and impact on the wildlife and all that kind of stuff. So they had to, the things I read said they had to bring the sheep over and bring them back every night.
Wow.
Yeah, which I don't know if that's true because that seems crazy, but it
Yeah.
also doesn't surprise me. And then there's a couple of casting items, which I think we'll get down to when we start talking about the movie proper, of other options there were and other people who refused to be in the movie due to the subject matter.
Yeah, I can see a lot of people on themselves being like, I would love to do this, however, this will
Yeah.
not go over well, this is going to be vastly controversial, even in 2005. I mean, even today it would still be, unfortunately.
Exactly. The one excuse I did hear that I buy and it made me laugh was Matt Damon was offered one of the roles and said that he didn't think he should take it because he had just done a gay movie and he had just done a cowboy movie and he didn't think he should do a gay cowboy movie. So I'm like, all right, I will
What
actually
was
give
that
that
gay
to him.
movie? Candelabra?
No, he hadn't done that yet. It was Jude Law, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yep, and then All the Pretty Horses was right after that. So
Okay.
he's like, yeah, I think I gotta do something else.
Yeah.
Which was probably Born around that time, is my guess.
All right, I will say, I was talking with a friend saying I have to watch this one tonight for the podcast, and she had come back and said, a great love story, but problematic because it's two men. And I realized at the time, even when I watched it, that didn't bother me in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
The movie has flaws, and we'll definitely talk about those.
Sure.
But that part never bothered me. You treat it just like any other love story, and you take the components, and does it actually make for a compelling story? Do you buy the romance? All of that kind of stuff.
Right.
And for the most part, I do buy the romance. I will say it's incredibly quick, and I think that's because of the pacing of the film.
Mhm.
Like they're up there, they do it, and then it's just 100% passion from the rest of the time on. I didn't really buy that aspect. Down the road, I absolutely did when they established they did this once or twice a year for years and years and years. But initially, I had such issues with how quick it happened.
See, I did not, and I want to get back to the comment in a minute, but I did not, only because I saw it as stages of their relationship, because first they had sex.
Yeah.
Like that was it, that was, what happened. And then it seemed like the second night when Ennis came into the tent, it was about intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he had said, his life was awful. His parents died, his siblings kind of cast him aside. He had nothing. He had no one. He barely spoke, and this man kind of opened him up a little bit. And so I saw that especially that second night was touch and intimacy,
Okay.
and he was offering him a safe place to land.
Okay.
And then it became love.
I guess my question is, and maybe it's not something that you're supposed to question in the development of this story, but it starts out in 1963, I
Yep.
think, and obviously there have been gay people that have existed on the planet for centuries and centuries, but in 1963 in rural areas, for two people to come together so suddenly,
Mhm.
I would think there would be more hesitation and danger in that moment, even though they're alone up on the mountain. I just expected that it would not be so quick and immediate. I get the longing, I get the sex. It just happened so fast, and for that situation, it just seemed far too quick. They're like, I was expecting something to be addressed or
Some
held back.
resistance.
Yeah.
The only thing, and again, no, I don't have a lot of experience with this, but what I took away from it and what I thought about that moment was, and there's a lot of question about like, what is their sexual status? Like, are they gay? Are they bi? Are they whatever? I don't think it matters, but if you are Ennis, especially, because he was the one that you just most gravitated to, because Ledger was amazing, and you have these feelings, and you have always had these feelings. Let's say he is a gay man, which I think we presume that he is. He has always had these feelings, and first time in his life, he has probably had an opportunity to express those ever.
Okay.
Maybe he would jump on it.
I got the opposite impression out of the two of them. I got the impression that Heath's character kind of went with something that was kind and opened to him for the first time in his life, and it didn't matter that it was coming from a man, but he did gravitate towards that. And in fact, it was Jake's character who was actually more inherently gay but hiding it.
I agree. I definitely agree that Jake's character, if of the two, seemed to enjoy men more than Heath Ledger's character, but we don't know that because we only saw him have one opportunity.
Well, there's the time he gets beaten up and killed later on, which
You're talking Jake though.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I said Ennis only.
Oh,
had
I'm
one
sorry, I'm
opportunity.
sorry,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
no, Jake went down to Mexico. He
Yep.
he had an affair with a foreman.
Yep.
And yeah. So he definitely went with men more often.
So
So I'm gonna jump back to your first comment.
Go.
About it's problematic because it was two men. I looked at this as a doomed romance in the same way that we looked at Remains of the Day, in the same way that we looked at Roman Holiday.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
Yeah, the way we were. It's a doomed romance.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter that it's two men. I know it does to some people, and
Sure.
I feel sorry for those people. I genuinely do, because they can't get past that. But no, absolutely. It doesn't matter who the love story involves. It's just the love story itself, and you look at that to see how is that constructed, like I said before, and does it actually work?
Right.
For me, the initial pacing of this doesn't work.
It's too fast.
Yeah. But the rest of it, once about a third of the way in, once they've established that this is a routine
Yeah.
they both need to do, they can't not do this, and they both eagerly look
Can't
forward.
quit him, Daryl.
Then the rest of it just flows naturally for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
But it's that first third.
That's fair.
The build-up didn't work. The rest of it did.
Okay, that's fair. Yep.
I think the strongest, the strength of this film isn't even the love story itself. It's the slow little bits that you get of the building of the characters. Little small moments that tell you so much about who they are, what they're hiding, what they're willing to do. Like, you just get it's so subtly done throughout, and the strength for me of this film is the building of the two characters. The wives, unfortunately, are a little bit more shallow, but I still think in their shallowness there's a certain amount of strength that you get from them, and I think that has a lot to do with the actors playing those roles.
I agree. I don't know that I would say shallow, but I do think that the women had less to work with.
Sure.
But the actresses did such a good job. And also, the thing I loved about this film was the small moments and also the ambiguous moments.
Yeah.
Because again, it's exactly what you're saying, things were fed to us. So like even the parents after Jake is killed are saying, oh, he was going to bring up this other man.
Yep.
Like, I am assuming that's the ranch foreman, that he had actually embroiled in an affair with him, and that's probably who that was. Because like when Jake said to him, oh, I'm sleeping with the rancher's wife, no, he's probably sleeping with the rancher and he just didn't want him to know.
Yep.
So first of all, you have to be super in tuned to pick that piece up.
Yep.
And then you have to be in tuned to, realize that he wanted to build a life with somebody, and it was probably going to be this rancher because it wasn't Ennis who he wanted. And then the ambiguity about how he was killed. I think everybody knows that he was killed, or I assume that he was killed.
Yes.
Do you assume?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The implication is that he was beaten to death because he was probably caught with another man.
That's what I think. And also, bringing it back to the women, is the moment that Anne Hathaway is talking to Heath Ledger is how much does she know?
Yeah.
And how much does she share? And the words that she's saying don't indicate she knows anything. Her eyes, her tears, the way she says it indicates that she knew everything.
Yeah,
she knows who this man is to her ex-husband.
The way she plays it is she plays it with a slight wink to him, saying, "You and I both know, but we're going to talk past that."
Exactly. Just as I think the mother knew, and the father probably knew as well.
Yeah.
And the mother was more accepting, as long as it was done on the down low.
The down low, yeah.
And the father was not accepting at all. You will not get a piece of my son.
So along those lines, let's bring up Alma for a second, because
Okay.
this is a part that bothers me in the film.
Oh, okay.
So she witnesses the kiss
Yes.
very early on.
Yes.
And she's silent for years.
Yep.
The only time she ever mentions anything is after they're divorced, she's remarried, he comes over for Christmas or Thanksgiving, I can't remember, and they have a confrontation in the kitchen.
Yes.
Why?
Why did she choose that moment? I have no idea.
Why not well before? I mean, it very easily could have been something that would have been brought up, investigated, used in a divorce. She didn't do that. She held on to that, and you could tell it was painful for years.
See, the silence I understood, the confrontation I didn't understand.
Okay.
Because I understood her, because if that comes up anywhere, she's not woman enough to hold on to this man. And also, what's going to be wrong, what's wrong with her daughters, that they are his kids. So I think she is protecting herself and protecting her children from, this terrible rumor that will get out.
Okay.
So I think that she doesn't want to know, she keeps silent, and then she finally can't live in this silence and this pain anymore. The confrontation, I agree with you, it doesn't make sense to me. Why bother at that point?
Yeah, the two don't sit on the same shelf.
Exactly.
So, and I could buy that she's been
Yeah.
doing exactly what you say for years and holding on to it for protection for all of those reasons. But then she would never have the confrontation.
Yeah.
Unless there was something that suddenly she couldn't hold in anymore, and that scene has no indication of that.
The only indication, and I agree with you, but the only indication is she is trying to get him to, she says, you ought to find a wife, we worry about you. And then he doesn't, I think at that point he says he's dating somebody.
I can't remember, but...
And I think that bothers her. Because again, is there that feeling of, oh, I'm not woman enough for you, but maybe she is, and what's going on, and I know you don't actually even like women. So that's the only thing that I can think of, but that's one of those where most of the time things are quiet and ambiguous enough. This is a piece they needed to draw out more.
Yeah, if we're gonna have that confrontation, we need some catalyst for it, we need some rationale for it, we need a reason for it, or take it out entirely. It's a good scene, the two of them acted out beautifully, but it is a case of kind of like maybe kill your darling in this case, like you don't need this in there, because it doesn't do anything for the film.
No.
It doesn't progress anything, it doesn't answer questions, it does nothing except for kind of disrupt the flow of what had been happening already.
It gave Michelle Williams her scene.
Yes.
Is what it did, and it probably got her nomination.
And that's fine, but again, just take a little bit of time to give something for that scene to be necessary. Otherwise, it just seems completely out of place to me.
Yep, I totally agree.
I really do enjoy this film. I do like the love story, and I like, most importantly, the commitment that the two give to playing their individual roles in this very specific love story.
Mm-hmm.
That it is much more of a one-sided one, and both of them play that beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
Jake plays dominant very, very well. Heath plays the more subdued but desperate so incredibly well.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like what they were able to bring and enhance to the overall story. I mean, I don't think any other two actors could have given that great of a performance for this story.
I agree. One thing I loved about it too, that I think some people may not like it, so it's, things vary, is the quietness in it. It was such a quiet movie.
Yep.
Again, Heath Ledger rarely speaks, and they joke about the time that he does say 4 sentences together. But like, for instance, when they say goodbye to each other, and he thinks that's probably the last time he's going to see Jake after the mountain, and then he turns and just loses himself. He's crying and sobbing and hitting the wall, because that's the only way his emotions can come out, and that's just like a moment, and then it's gone, and he's back to marrying Alma, and that's the way it's going to be. One thing I can't not say is how gorgeous this movie was, and the cinematography and the mountains and the way they used even like the sheep all over the damn place. It was gorgeous. It was absolutely a gorgeous movie.
Yeah, the framing of it, the way that they chose to set a scene, even if it's just a scene of someone getting on their horse and riding off for 30 seconds, the way that they frame that really does place you and give you a good sense of that mountain and where they are. Beautiful choices.
Yeah, Ang Lee is a phenomenal director. I love his stuff. So, yeah.
Overall, I do enjoy it. Again, I have some problems, but I think it's a very well crafted film and a very nuanced love story. This kind of story could have been much more ham-fisted, more over the top, or completely played in much more subtle. I think it was just the right amount to give you what you need.
Yep, I totally agree. Oh, we got to say the line: "If you can't fix it, then you have to stand it." That's a heartbreaking way to live your life.
Yeah.
That's just a terrible way to live your life, but it's also, you can see that that's his motto. You can't fix it, you've got to stand it, and he has decided that most of the things in his life he can't fix, which is, maybe that's true if you tried to fix some shit, and he just does not.
Well, he does kind of with his daughter, he does try to mend that relationship.
He does.
It takes him a long time, and you can see, like, when she's there, you can tell that she looks up to him, has her entire life. And when she actually asks him to go to the wedding, his initial reaction, then he starts to say, absolutely not, I've got these other things, but then he changes and says, yes, of course, I will be there, you are my daughter, etc. So he does try, but not as probably much as he should.
Right, exactly. I'm going to say one more thing, I'm sorry.
No, do it.
This simple moment, and I hadn't seen it I've probably seen this movie 3 or 4 times, but I'd never noticed it until this watch. Was when Ennis goes and finds the shirts. It's Jake's shirt is on the outside of Ennis's shirt,
I did not catch that.
and in the closet, Ennis's shirt is on the outside of Jake's shirt. It's almost like each man is embracing the man that is gone, and out of their life they flipped the shirts, and that's the first time I noticed that. I'm like,
I didn't
oh my
catch
god,
that.
that's gorgeous! Like little moments like that.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. And
Yeah,
so-
that's a nice little detail, and
Yeah.
it tells you a lot without telling you.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm
So-
so sorry I missed that. I mean, I caught that when that scene was happening. I caught that they were their shirts, but I
Right.
didn't catch I didn't.
They're inside out.
Yep.
Alrighty.
All right, moving on to Capote. Capote, directed by Bennett Miller, written by Dan Futterman. It stars Philip Seymour Hoffman, Catherine Kinnear, Clifton Collins Jr., Bruce Greenwood, Mark Pellegrino, Amy Ryan, and Chris Cooper. Nominated for Picture, Director, Actor in a Leading Role for Hoffman, Actress in a Supporting Role for Catherine, and Best Adapted Screenplay. And it did win Philip his Oscar.
Alrighty. The summary is a biopic of writer Truman Capote and his assignment for the New Yorker to write the non-fiction book In Cold Blood.
Fair.
I think that's fair. The basic fun fact is that while this movie does hit the high notes of the general structure of what happened, it is wildly inaccurate in a lot of
heard
things.
that, yeah.
So first of all, he never bribed the warden for his time with the men. He
Okay.
actually was told he couldn't visit them, so he sued and they settled on a number of times he could visit them, which was only a handful. He visited them like 5 or 6 times in total. Most of their interactions happened by mail and letters. There's no evidence that he tried to help them with their appeals. He never got them legal counsel, and he was not there at the executions.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you're going to do a biopic and be so wildly out of style with what actually happened, that's just odd to me.
It is. The only thing I can think is that maybe they, for some strange reason, they felt that there needed to be more interaction on his part with them, which, okay, but if I agree with you, if you're going to go that far off, that changes the whole dynamic of the story. And let's be honest, for most people, when they see a biopic, that's their gospel of what actually ends up happening.
Yeah.
So if you are going to be that inaccurate, you better have a damn good reason for it.
Exactly.
All right. To me, this is one of the ones that I questioned whether it should have been nominated, but then again, looking at the list, sure.
Why not?
This is, for me, I really do enjoy this story. I like the way the story plays itself out, but this is a singular performance for me.
Yeah.
This is just him showcasing. He does a brilliant job. Absolutely deserved the Oscar. But that's pretty much it for me for this film.
He did an amazing job, and I adore Philip Seymour Hoffman. I do wonder, between him and Heath Ledger, I would have had a hard time for Best Actor, honestly, because I think that they were 2 really good roles. I wouldn't begrudge him because he did an amazing job. And Truman Capote is such a hard person because he was an over-the-top personality.
Yeah.
So if you're
And he
playing
did have that
him,
voice.
oh, he absolutely did. So if you're playing him, you have to be over the top without being over the top, and he got that. I agree with you. I thought it was an interesting story. I knew the bones of it, but I didn't know.
Have you ever read it?
I've never read In Cold Blood. I have it, and I haven't read it yet.
I haven't read it either.
No, I've got to do that. But I really liked it was definitely about him. I liked Catherine Keener in her roles. Because I felt like that role, she saw him, she understood him, she let him do what he needed to do to be Truman until she reeled him in and called him on his crap.
Yep.
And so I really did like the dynamic between the 2 of them. There were other characters I would have liked to have seen built out a little bit more, but it was the Truman Capote show. It was Capote.
Yeah, one that I would have liked to have had a little bit more of, because it only really comes in at the end, and it seems like it could have been built on and made more important, is the editor of the publishing of the publishing house.
Yes, he's one of the ones I noted, yeah.
He basically does, he's such praiseworthy for him, particularly reading this. There's the scene where he's like, this is not only going to make you incredibly famous, but this is going to change how people write. That's a big thing to say, and a big moment to realize. And we only got little snippets of him throughout, and he was always such a background character. for those moments later on, I would have liked to have had that relationship be built a little bit more.
Agree.
One of the main reasons why is throughout this entire thing, and from my understanding, this is the way it was. Truman Capote was very self-centered. He was very focused on himself, to the point where he would be oblivious to the things that he was doing and the consequences of the things of his actions and what he was asking for. It was showcased in this when he's asking for the detective's notes, and the detective basically like threatens him, like, if you get these guys off, I will come find you, I know where you live. And Capote's basically oblivious to the potential pain that he is causing this community by doing this and assisting and helping. And that was evident throughout the entire thing. So having more scenes like that to either build on that or give some sort of rationale why, like, was this entirely what his entire life has been? People always did this to him. We know his mother didn't. But so I would have liked to have more of those to give a little bit more background into why he is so oblivious to everybody else around him.
It definitely showed how complex a person he was and how selfish he was. And also I thought it did a nice job of drawing some parallels between him and the main murderer that he was interviewing, because they both did have this public persona of, the murderer seemed to be a very gentle soul and was very articulate and had good conversations and all of those things, but underneath he was obviously a cold-blooded killer. And Capote was like, he was the life of the party, and he brought all the Hollywood stories, and he was doing all of these things, and he was a great writer, but underneath he was a very complicated and selfish man. So I liked the parallel between the two of them. You should definitely watch, if you haven't, the miniseries Truman and the Swans or something like that.
Okay.
It's very good. It's basically about Truman Capote in later years and the society of, like, the women in society that become his swans, is what they're called. And they're women that you've heard of, that, they're part of the Great Society, and he wrote a book about them, and they cut him out. And he never recovered from it, both emotionally and on a societal level.
I do totally agree with you. The film does a very good job of balancing when Capote's at work and his enjoyment of his celebrity and being at parties. There's like 4 or 5 parties that happen throughout this entire thing. So you do get to see both the genius of him doing what he needs to do, and also that the part where he needed the celebrity and enjoying his celebrity. One of the scenes that I really did like, and I think it did earn it, was finally towards the latter part of the film where he's interviewing Perry, and he's like, there's only one reason why I keep coming back, and if you don't give that to me, there's no reason for me to be here. He also is manipulative in that moment.
Super manipulative,
He's playing on the potential friendship and all of those things, but you can see that was the moment that he needed to do. It was planned. He was just waiting for the right time to actually say it. So you do get to see the intellect and the cunning that he has quite often, and that was a great scene, I thought, to illustrate that aspect.
Yep, I agree. I do wish they had made more use of Bruce Greenwood as his partner. I would have liked to have seen that relationship a little bit more than you did. I think it was just more establishing, if you didn't know already, it's a gay man, and here's his partner. Like, it felt like that was his purpose, and I would have liked to have seen more of their relationship. It's just basically Jack, I think his name was. Being like, let him do his thing, and I'm going to go over here and do my thing.
Particularly as they were both writers. Like, that would have been a great illumination where you could get a lot of Capote's thoughts and feelings on writing by having a conversation with his partner. I don't know if they were married or not, but I don't think so.
No. Certainly not that anyway. But you could have seen, and you saw a little bit of, the conflict between the two, and especially the conflict he had with Harper Lee when Mockingbird became so successful. He does not like to be second.
No. I only have one more thing, and it's a question for you. She asks Capote at one point, Capote says, somebody says that I'm in love with Perry. And then she asks, are you? And he doesn't really answer the question. do you think that he actually was? Not like in a romantic sense of love, but something a little bit deeper.
I think he was in love with the parts of Perry that reminded him of himself, because he is so in love with himself.
Yes.
So I think that the things about Perry, as we've said, where there are parallels to Truman, he really gravitated towards. Asking the same question back to you.
I do, but I think it wasn't the kind of love where there would have been like a relationship about moving forward, or even anything, I don't even think possibly sexual, but he did like certain parts of Perry.
Yes.
And he liked to bring those parts out. The speech that he gives where, we were both raised in the same house, he went out the back door, I went out the front, totally illustrates what you're talking about.
Yep.
And I think that he is, and I agree with you, completely fascinated by how different the lives can be from very similar upbringing.
Yep.
And that was part of the love. And part of that love, I think, is like an empathy, for this. This is how this man's life turned out.
I could see that. Okay. I could totally see that. Yeah. And I've watched it before. I would watch it again. I think it's an interesting movie. I think it's a great performance, but it's such a small piece of the subject of this person.
I think they made the right choice to only focus on this and not bring in too much of Capote's life. Like, we're just going to take this time period and that's all we're going to talk about. Contrast that with Ray, where we got the whole thing where it was too much.
Yes.
This was a good choice to focus on just this. And I think the pacing of everything, the back and forth, I think it all worked to make a fine film, a good film. I just don't think it's a great film.
I agree with you. And to the pacing piece, I love that we never saw a courtroom.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so they caught the guys, and the next thing you know, they've been found for murder. So
yeah, the only time we got a courtroom scene was when they read the verdict. That was it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is quite all right.
Excuse me. All right, I'm good with Capote.
As am I.
Let's move on to a very controversial movie at the time, Crash. Directed by Paul Haggis, co-wrote the screenplay and produced the film with Robert Moroso. The film features an ensemble cast: Sandra Bullock, Don Cheadle, Matt Dillon, Jennifer Esposito, William Fichtner, Brendan Fraser, Terrence Howard, Chris Ludacris Bridges, Thandie Newton, Michael Pena, Lorenz Tate, and Ryan Philippe. Was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor in a Supporting Role for Dillon, Screenplay, Film Editing, Original Song. It did win Best Picture, hence the controversy. It also won for Screenplay and Film Editing.
Alright, so the summary. Racial tensions collide in a collection of intertwined stories involving residents of Los Angeles.
Okay, that's accurate.
Sure. I'll give it that. It's so very big. Just a couple of fun facts, and I think many people may know this, is that it was written by Paul Haggis because he was inspired by a real life incident where he was carjacked in LA.
Yep.
And I think a lot of folks know that, and he has often said what he meant it to be was not only to be critical of racists and racism, but also to bust liberals for believing that racism was a thing of the past. So, very interesting. And also, I didn't know that he had a heart attack while filming this, and was told that he should have a delay in the movie, and he said nope, and went back to production against medical advice.
I had heard that this was a very big passion project for him.
Yes, it was.
And something he'd been trying to work on and wanted to get just right. So I'm going to use that as a springboard, because I read a couple interviews, saw a couple interviews where he said I kept trying to get this movie just right so my message was clear.
Yep.
I'm not sure if that is true or not, but we could talk about that.
And Paul Haggis, a complicated figure.
Sure.
I'm just going to throw it out there. All right.
So I think this movie is very much a movie of its time. When it came out, I think the movie did what part of the intent was to provoke conversations about race, primarily amongst white people, to have complicated conversations or attempts to have them. I remember having those conversations, talking about it with people that had seen the film. What did you think about this? What did you think about that? Which did lead to conversations, all of which would be very difficult. And the film does attack racism from multiple angles.
Oh, yes.
From multiple points of view. It does not lean...
Multiple ethnicities.
Yep. It doesn't try to lean one way or another. I mean, you're making fun, you're putting on full display the fact that Oriental drivers are bad
Asian.
Sorry, yes, sorry.
That's okay.
Asian drivers are bad drivers. You have all the different aspects of what it means to be black and the racism, the shuck and jive that some people have to do. Like every angle is attacked and discussed, interwoven into this pretty well told story. Like all the pieces do come together. I just question now if it has the same impact as it did back then, which I don't, my gut feeling says no. Because we've had a lot of these conversations since, and we're definitely not done.
Agree. So I agree with your statement that it did a lot of the things that it intended to do in the time that it came out. This is one of the movies that I was not looking forward to because I didn't like it when it came out. I just was not a fan of the movie itself. And when I watched it this time, it was actually better than I remembered it having been. I think I put it in a very, very bad movie section of my brain, and it wasn't. There was a lot of really interesting things. I like the interconnected stories. I like the way that he really put those stories together well, and everything seemed to come together. Whether, we'll talk about the storylines and the people and all of that, but everything came together in a very complicated way. It reminded me a lot of Robert Altman's Shortcuts, which I like a lot. So I totally get that. I struggled a lot with some of the things that were actually said out loud as, wow, you're hitting people over the head with a mallet. And I just think that racism in some of these circles is so much more subtle and insidious than you're making it out to be. So that's one of my problems. The other problem is some of these individuals had arcs that started with them as the hero and they ended as the villain, or they started as the villain and they ended as the hero in 24-hour period. And I did not buy any of those roller coaster character arcs.
Dylan's character,
Philippe's character. I mean, like most of them. I think probably Don Cheadle was the one that was the most even-keeled of. He had some bad moments, he had some good moments. And I think Michael Pena was the most honorable character throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, he didn't have to go through an arc. He was just himself.
He was just a good guy.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he stayed a good guy. Whereas the rest of the good guys became bad guys, and many of the bad guys became good guys. And I didn't care for that. But it's not that easy.
A couple things I want to hit on that you talked about. One, yes, there were definitely more preaching moments in this, where a character would be saying something and you know that is being said to really make a point for you to be like, oh, do I agree with this or do I not agree with this? And I did not like those moments. You could have done that a little bit more subtly or have it be a conversation, not a lecture. The other thing is, because the movie tries to tackle so much and it does bring so much with it, I think certain storylines could have been abandoned to fill out other areas. For example, the grocery store owner, I can't remember if they were Iranian or what their descendancy was, but that whole plot, outside of shooting the gun at the end so the invisible cloak catches the bullet, that was probably the most stereotyped out of all of them. And if you had taken that storyline out and replaced it with further scenes from some others, I think the film would have been a better film. I'm not saying, I'm trying to be very careful because I'm not saying that wasn't something to explore, but I think in this film, that was a very weak storyline, and it involved a lot of stereotype, which the film was trying to step away from, and I think in that area it failed.
Well, and also, it had a magic ending. The little girl and her father are safe. The man who tried to kill a man is, going to go back to his family, and no one's going to call the police, and everything's going to be happy, and the daughter's going to take the gun away, and haven't we all learned a lesson?
Yes.
And I hated the ending of that storyline. There were many storylines that I just hated the endings so much. I would even say, and is it Tandy Newton that you say her name?
Thandi, Thandi, I believe.
Who... I love that actress. I think she is absolutely amazing. Yes. But I remember back in the ER days, she was married to Noah Wiley's character.
That's right!
Exactly.
I totally forgot about that.
So anyway, love her, have followed her career, but just to be even okay, so you get, and I have always had a crush on the guy that played her husband, Terrence Howard, but she goes and gets in a car accident and almost dies in a fireball of gasoline, and then goes home and takes a shower and calls her husband like, hey, I love you. Hey, is everything okay? Like, what? Do you not, like, maybe go to a hospital, or maybe call your husband and say, I've been in a really bad car accident, and the guy that, you know, sexually assaulted me yesterday saved my life. That it just, none of it made sense to me.
That one was too much of a redemption arc for me, for sure.
Far too much, yes.
And this is the problems that I have with the movie, is that it does what it was attempting to take on, and this is why I preface this all in the beginning with, like, he was trying to be clear with his intent. I don't know if his intent was exactly, I don't think he accomplished his intent in this film. I think he came close, he took some very big swings, and I think particularly for the time, a film like this was a good film to have come out so that people could have the conversations, and they could also say, like, the things that we're talking about, that just because someone was talking about race doesn't mean that they did it beautifully or wonderfully. But good on you, because now we have angles that we can talk about, and we have kind of little safe spaces to start.
Yeah.
Like, this became a very easy thing. Well, do you agree with when they said so-and-so? Or, you know, it was just a leaping point for a lot of conversations that made it a little bit safer to have those conversations. So in that regard, it succeeded. I don't think his intent was achieved, though.
Nope, I agree. I think, like, one of the things that he did that was probably controversial in the moment and made sense and got a good conversation going was Sandra Bullock. Everybody loves Sandra Bullock, girl next door. She's a terrible, horrible racist in this movie.
Yes.
So I'm like, point is that everybody can be a horrible, terrible racist. It doesn't even matter, you know, how you are on the outside. It's like, yep, Sandra Bullock could be one. And it reminds me of the casting of the miniseries Roots. A lot of the slave owners were Papa Walton. You know, they had, you know, all of the father figures, Papa Brady, all the father figures from all the TV shows that everybody loved, they cast as slave owners, so that you could be like, yeah, this is ugly. But it wasn't as terrible and blunt and in your face as I remember in the moment. Well, it was, but I didn't mind it as much this time around, I guess. I guess because I thought it was so unsubtle, and it didn't disappoint me as much this time around. What was your response to it immediately and today?
My response this time around was a little bit better. My response back then was, again, it provoked a lot of conversation, so I was thankful for that at the moment. It is still, to me, very much a movie of its time, and that's one of the things we try to do, is, of course, put ourselves in that time period. So for the time period, I think it was an important film to come out because it did provoke the conversations. And a stepping stone, because that once this film comes out and you see a white dude trying to tackle all of this, then other people can come out and try to do something similar, a different angle and better. This I guarantee for you gave also a lot of black directors and writers the opportunity to approach race from their point of view, because it was already starting to be out there in the cultural zeitgeist. So I think it was important at the time and allowed for opportunities for things to be better done down the road. In retrospect, I'm appreciative of the big swings. I just think there were a lot of missed opportunities and flaws in the writing, and the conversations were a little ham-fisted.
Agreed, but the performances I think were great, and the construction of the movie I think was very admirable.
Yeah, it's the writing that I primarily have an issue with here, not the performances, not the direction, not the construction, as you say. It is actually the writing. The writing is over the top at certain points and very ham-fisted and very like, I'm making an important statement now, pay attention to what this character is saying. And I fucking hate when movies do that.
Yeah. I read a review of it in the moment that was quoted in one of the articles I was reading, and it said, the problem with this movie is that the fact we all have racism inside of us should be the starting point of the movie, not the startling revelation at the end. And
yeah, I kind of like that.
Yeah. So, yep.
All right. Moving on. Good Night and Good Luck. Directed by George Clooney, screenplay by Clooney and Grant Heslov. Stars David Strathairn, Patricia Clarkson, Clooney, Jeff Daniels, Robert Downey Jr., Frank Langella. Was nominated for Picture, Director, Actor for Strathairn. Screenplay, cinematography, art direction did not win anything.
All right. The summary is the broadcast journalist Edward R. Murrow looks to bring down Senator Joseph McCarthy. Yeah, pretty high-handed. I mean, they should have probably mentioned like the network and the show and all the people.
Yeah, like
okay.
Rather than one sentence, do like 3 sentences.
Exactly. I can take that. So fun fact for me was that this was actually filmed in color on a grayscale set and then color corrected to black and white post-production.
Huh.
And part of the reason was when they were doing it is they realized they didn't want to cast McCarthy, they wanted to use the archival footage. So they had to have everything kind of match the black and white.
That makes sense.
Which is interesting, but I've seen lots of colored movies where they're watching a black and white TV set.
Yeah.
So, and then the other interesting fact for our podcast is that this is the second time that Don Hewitt was a major player in a Best Picture nomination. So he was one of the producers on Murrow's show.
Okay.
He is also the creator of 60 Minutes.
Okay.
And was the guy on The Insider that sided with the lawyers and didn't let the whistleblower article go through.
All right. Interesting.
Interesting guy, Don Hewitt, actually. So definitely somebody to read up on.
Okay. I like this kind of movie, where it's very heavy on conversations and a lot of things are talked through, big decisions, weighing of choices back and forth, and the different angles that come out when you are faced with big decisions and the debates that happen. I like those kind of movies a lot. I thought this was well crafted. I liked that it was focused, for the most part, on a singular story they were trying to tell over a short period of time. This could have gotten very big.
Yep.
It could have also gotten super small. And I liked the middle ground that it kind of played with. I think it handled it well. There are some side stories that I don't really understand why they're there. I kind of get it. They're there to illustrate points, but I think a lot of them seem necessary. Robert Downey Jr.'s character could have been completely removed from this film, and it wouldn't have really mattered that much. But I liked the writing, and again, I thought everybody's performances were great, but this was the David show for sure. The way he was able to inhabit Murrow so well.
Such an amazing job, yeah. And again, it was not a impersonation of him, he embodied him, as you said.
Yep.
I thought that I enjoyed this movie. I've seen it a couple of times. I would have loved to have seen it on Broadway with Clooney in the role that just happened last year. Every piece of this was done competently, but it missed heart or passion to it.
Yeah, it was cold.
It was like, yes, there's nothing on here that I can tick off and say, nope, they did that well, and yeah, it looked beautiful, and they did that, and the pacing was good. But it was meh. It was a little bit meh.
It was cold for sure. I agree that it was a little bit underwhelming at the end of it. And I think the thing was that there was nothing really to latch onto except for, hey, the message is we're battling against someone attempting to be a fascist. They're basically being a bully. We're going to do everything we can to battle that. That's the story.
The story or the headlines today? I can't remember.
Well, obviously there are parallels.
It's a pretty timely story. Yeah.
But that kind of story, you need something to kind of either latch onto where you have a victory, so that you can feel a sense of winning, or a sense of failure, or something. You need something to help follow through this entire thing. And it wasn't. It was very news-like, which is what it was about, was the news. And it was very news-like in its presentation.
That's a great point. I think that's what it was missing, was a conclusion of some kind, whether it be, success or failure. It just meandered on.
Yep.
And I didn't like that. I thought of it as kind of like a poor man's Washington. Oh my God, Robert Redford.
Oh, All the President's Men.
Thank you very much. Having trouble today. And by the way, Robert Redford.
I know.
So, yeah.
R.I.P.
So it seems like a poor man's All the President's Men. So that's the thing, and it takes something that was important and controversial, and it made it kind of boring.
Yeah,
which surprises me.
Yeah,
it's a story problem, not a movie problem.
Correct. You're absolutely right that there was no real heart into it. That's why I say it was very news-like. Like, the news is very factually based. This is art supposed to be. This is what happened. These are the facts. and this ends up being the story that is being told is very much like that. These are the facts. These are what happens. We happened to put a camera in the room as it was happening
Sure.
and film it.
Yeah. What do you think of the music, the jazz music, and the musician that kind of comes in and out of it? Because I loved the music. I actually looked into downloading the soundtrack because I really enjoyed the music, but it seemed out of place.
It did. I agree with you. It's 100% out of place. It actually interrupts the flow.
Yeah.
It's an attempt to put something a little bit lighter in.
Yeah.
And they did set it in like a live format where this was going out live as they were between broadcasts and things, but it did interrupt the quote unquote flow of the movie and seemed unnecessary.
It just seemed kind of unnecessary, exactly. So, but David Strathairn, can't say enough about him, and I love him in everything he's in.
Yeah, so to me, for the best actor category, I would not have given it to Heath, even though he did an amazing performance. I still would give it to the portrayal of Capote, but I would not have been upset if David got it
Oh, interesting.
on this one. Just because of the way he was able to embody that entire thing and just not break it, I wouldn't have been mad at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. That's all I have to say about that. You?
That may be our shortest conversation
It
on a
very
movie
well
to
may.
record because there's nothing we can say good or bad, really. It just was.
It was.
And that's the way it was. Okay.
Good night and good luck.
Alrighty.
Alright, lastly, Munich, directed by Steven Spielberg, co-written by Tony Kushner, Eric Roth. It's based on the 1984 book Vengeance by George Jonas. Stars Eric Bana, Daniel Craig, Ciarán Hinds, Matthew Kassovitz, Hans Zieschler, Jeffrey Rush. Nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Film Editing, and Original Score. And did not win anything.
Alright, so the summary. And most of these are IMDb, just to give them credit.
Sure.
After this Black September capture and massacre of Israeli athletes at the 1972 Olympics, 5 men are chosen to eliminate the people responsible for that fateful day. That's actually, I think, the best one to date.
Yep.
Okay.
Alright.
Fun facts.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's okay. It's not a fun movie, so why would you assume fun facts? So, in the flashbacks to the actual killing of the hostages, one of the hostages is a wrestling coach, Moshe Weinberg.
Yep.
And he was played by his son Guri in the movie. Guri was a month old when his father was killed. So, and also, for the reasons I'm sure that we will talk about, this was very poorly received by the Israeli community, including the Zionist Organization of America, for depicting the main characters as terrorists themselves.
Yeah, we'll definitely dive
Yeah.
into that. I want to start with a couple things. The first one is, to me, if I did not know the other films that were released that year, this would be the case that we see a lot. A very well-respected director puts out a film, it's going to get nominated for Best Director or for Best Picture. That, to me, summarizes this movie in its entirety. The second thing is, this movie is beloved by Steven Spielberg fans. Every forum I went on, and I probably went on like 10 or 12 different Reddit forums, people love this movie.
Okay.
I don't understand it.
Alright, so that's fascinating on many levels. I would not have known this was a Spielberg movie if I didn't know it was a Spielberg movie, first of all. I will say, much like Crash, I wasn't looking forward to this movie. I did not like it at the time, and it held up better than on the second watching, I would say. And this is only the second time that I've seen it. Maybe it's because it's so topical now. Maybe it's just that I'm in a place where, I appreciated the movie a little bit more. But it's a hard watch.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard watch. One of the reasons I think that it gets criticized but also is beloved is the movie attempts, I'm not saying it succeeds, but attempts to not put a pro-Israeli or pro-Palestinian spin on anything.
Yes.
It is an exploration of vengeance, justice, and terrorism, and multiple other things as well. But it tries very hard not to pass judgment on either, and I think that's something that upsets people, like on either side. They're like, pick a side, dude, go with it. And
Exactly.
this film attempts to not do that.
Yep, I agree. And it does attempt to get into, the five main characters do attempt to get into those ethical conversations, and they attempt to, they have targeted somebody that they believe is responsible for the death of their countrymen, and those are the only people they want to kill. And they do go to great lengths to ensure that there are no, unintended consequences.
But they fuck up. They
Oh, of
kill,
course,
they kill
they
innocents a lot.
Absolutely. Well, and that's the thing, is like, so is it worth it, or
Yeah.
is it not? And that's, honest to God, the conversations we're having today. So it's certainly a very timely conversation and very difficult one. I had some problems with the movie itself, setting aside the story. I had some just troubles with the movie itself of, I am going to be honest, perhaps I am terribly ill-informed or ignorant, and I really am about some of this stuff.
Sure.
But I think Spielberg assumed a greater knowledge of the world than I had coming in. So I think maybe that's why I enjoyed it the second time so much, is because I've learned more about, kind of what has happened in the world and all of those things. But there is just so much bouncing around all of these different countries and places and who's involved, and there's, the Mossad is in the safe house with the PLO members, but they're pretending to be IRA, and like, that was just a lot for me.
And also this, he invented a lot of things for this. The whole,
Yeah.
I did discover that the Shadow French organization that they end up dealing
Yeah.
with never existed.
It doesn't surprise me, but yes, but again, it's a good point. So Shadow French organization.
What I agree that it's hard for this one to really kind of separate the subject matter from the film itself.
Yeah.
But I do think that because the film almost goes out of its way to not pass judgment, that the film itself ends up suffering. If it had had some sort of more of a point, I guess, to make, and could have made some form of judgment along
Yeah.
the way, I think it would have been a better film.
Yeah.
I'm not taking anything away from Stephen, what he was trying to do, and to not pass judgment, and to make it more about just the exploration of what is vengeance, what is terrorism, those kind of questions. But because of what he's following and where he's going,
Yep.
the film itself ends up suffering because choices were not made along the way.
No, I do agree with that. I think that kind of brings us to the ending, which I really did like, which was him asking his handler to, like, I'm not going back with you, but come, break bread. Let's
Yeah.
start peace. Let's bring ourselves together. And the handler's like, no, if you're not going to work for me, then you're working against me, kind of thing, as you get a sense of. And I hated but loved that ending of, yeah, peace is not something that's going to come easily, and probably at all.
A couple technical things. This, again, Spielberg film, so the camera work is just impeccable.
Yep.
Multiple things happening, as he's very wants to do in most of his films and most of his scenes. Any particular scene, there's multiple things that are happening. The scenes with the five of them a lot, everybody's constantly in
Yes.
motion and moving. They're beautifully framed and just gorgeously blocked. Like, he has that. And it must be at this point just second nature for him to be doing all of this very busy work in a particular scene. I don't think I can't think of anybody off the top of my head who does that kind of thing better than he does.
Yeah.
The color scheme also was an interesting choice because it's not your normal kind of color scheme. It's slightly off a little bit, and
I thought it was just kind of more like the muted browns of the 70s.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they were kind of going for.
Yeah.
It was a little bit, it was more muted, it was a little bit more gray. Like even the sunny outside scenes were not
Yeah.
like super sunny outside.
No.
So those were interesting choices to make, I thought. The one big criticism I have of this movie is the sex scene where he's...
Worst sex scene ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely no point to it.
Nope.
Apparently the most epic orgasm a man has ever had in the history of orgasms, even porn. But it was completely unnecessary, and it was so over the top with the cutting back and forth of what was going on.
Well, and also, did I miss something major? Because he was not in Munich at the time. Like, the Eric Bana character was not in Munich at the time of the hostages being killed.
No.
He is flashing back to an event he was not part of. So we're watching everything that happened in Munich while he's having sex, while they're being cut back and forth. Like, if he's having PTSD to an event that he was a part of, I'll buy that. but he's having PTSD to an event that he did not take place in while having sex, and it was all gross.
Yeah.
I didn't care for that at all.
The part of it, like, I have no problem with sex scenes in a movie at all, but they just need to be relevant and, like, help progress something. This one didn't. It was almost like, as it was happening, I was like, oh my god, is this what he's trying to do? I was thinking of the opening in Apocalypse Now, where Martin Sheen's character is having a breakdown.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, is this your version of that? He's having a breakdown while having sex with his wife and thinking back to all of these events? Because you could have done that much better.
And her response is, I love you.
Yep.
Like, I'd have a bigger response than that.
It was the most ham-fisted thing I have seen in a very, very long time. Like, we got the point, and you just kept hammering the point, no pun intended. You just kept hammering that point over and over again, and it was completely unnecessary.
Is this Spielberg's only sex scene? I cannot think of another one that he's filmed.
That is a very, very good question.
I can't think of any other. I have not seen the most recent one that was about his family growing up with Michelle Williams in it, so I don't know.
I did, and I don't remember if there's a sex scene in that or not.
We're going to take that offline and
yeah,
figure that one out.
That's great. Hey, if you know of one off the top of your head, let us know. Yeah, this was, again, a big swing that was taken, but I think the film just suffers because it was trying so hard to not make any sort of point one way or the other, except for what is the cost of revenge and and is this terrorism acts?
Yeah.
Like, posing the questions with giving no answers. I think the film suffered because of that.
Yep, I completely agree. I do want to do just a teeny deep dive into, we've talked about some great performances.
Sure.
Just a couple of places, like, this is something I really like. So, Kieran Hines, one of my, just every time I see him, he's phenomenal. I loved his interaction with the Eric Bana character every time. It's like when he knew he went to go see that his baby was born. And so, like, he just was very kind and lethal all at the same time, and you saw that come together. So I loved him. I thought Eric Bana did a great job up until the sex scene that we talked about. And I also really liked the actress that plays Golda Meir. Same thing is, from the things you've seen from her, from archival footage, she seemed to have that character, she seemed to embody that woman, to use your word. And I really like that actress because she was in Sex and the City. So she's a great actress to go from that to Sex and the City, pretty good.
And I had forgotten that Daniel Craig was in this.
Oh, and he was wonderful.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it the first time being like, okay, that guy's kind of a standout for me. He's doing a really, really good job. And of course we all know when he became 007.
Jeffrey Rush did great.
Yeah. You ever seen Layer Cake?
No.
Early Daniel Craig film.
Oh, okay.
Phenomenal.
Okay. Action spy thing?
Kind of.
Okay. I'll check it out.
Yeah, okay. So big swings and just suffered because of some stuff.
Okay.
I'm going to take a big swing on this one, and I'm going to say that you don't agree with the Academy that Crash should not have won, and I'm going to say that you think it should be Brokeback Mountain.
Is that really a big swing?
Kind of.
Okay.
I mean, I could eliminate Capote. I could eliminate. Well, actually, no. Now that I could eliminate all the films. So no.
Yes, that is correct. And I'm also. I think just for me, empirically, Brokeback was the better film. I am going to say that you feel the same.
I do.
Absolutely.
Given the films.
Yep.
Again, two of them you can instantly kick right out because they were big swings, but they didn't really succeed in the swings they were taking.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was just a news story,
Yeah.
and then the other one was just a singular performance for an entire film. So essentially, this becomes process of elimination. This one is the best because all the other ones were not.
And I think a little bit differently. I think it deserved it. So I do think that it is a Best Picture winner.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I agree. We land in the same place.
Rock and roll. See ya.
Bye.